whole purpose of this little video is just to talk about the meaning behind the guitars in my collection. I don't just go out and buy a guitar on a whim, although it may seem like that. They all have to have some kind of symbolism. This is actually my very first guitar from, let's see, 1985, I believe, when I first started playing. So this was a Christmas gift from my parents. Obviously, that is probably one of the most symbolic guitars in my collection because this is where it all began for me when I was a player. It has some, if you look close up, kind of corny additions here that are just temporary. These are all little white stickers. This is not actually a checkered paint job. That would be really awesome. But no, I was kind of inspired by, of course, the Cheap Trick thing. I did it really for a music video, just to have something that looked different. So this is the Kramer Focus 3000. Kramer, of course, was big back in the 80s, thanks to Eddie Van Halen and all that. And, you know, it was a pretty good starter guitar, pretty solid. The action is really great on this. So, the story behind the Charvel. This was my second guitar. By the time I, had started making progress as a guitar student, I was in high school, the junior year maybe, senior year. This was a Christmas present. So this is a 1988 Charvel. Originally was in just all gloss black with Jackson active pickups and a sort of Jackson type Floyd Rose or some kind of Floyd Rose that wasn't very great. It's before they had the fine tuners, so the thing would go out of tune all the time. I eventually put a just hardtail bridge in there for a while, and then only recently put on another Floyd Rose on here. And of course the color has changed quite a bit over the years. At one point spray painted it green, and then I added some tiger stripe, sort of George Lynch style, with the black and the white, and then eventually decided to make the whole thing yellow on top of that. So it is very much of my own little Frankenstein. It's not a very smooth paint job, but it is unique. So that's the story behind this guy, and it still sounds and plays amazing. The Gibson Explorer Pro. What's the story with this? So basically, I've always been intrigued by the Gibsons. What happened was a long time ago, when I was a screenwriter and I hadn't been playing guitar for a while, I was starting to get the itch to really pick it up again. And I told myself, hey, the next time I, land a job or sell some major piece of work and I get some money, I'm going to buy a really cool electric guitar. So this was the third electric guitar that I've ever owned. And originally I was shopping for a Jackson V. I was in the guitar store and I played one that was really nice and everything. And there happened to be this snow white Gibson Explorer, like James Hetfield style, that was hanging right next to it. I thought, well, let me try the Gibson. I've never really strapped one of those on. And I just fell in love with it immediately. The shorter scale length and everything. And the Gibson pickups are still some of my favorites. So I decided right then and there I was going to switch gears at that point, and I was going to get myself a Gibson Explorer. So I eventually things moved forward on one of my projects, and so I was able to secure the funds to buy this USA-made Gibson Explorer. All right, so the story behind the bass guitar. This is a Toby by Tobias, made in Indonesia. Nothing really special about it. But the symbolism of this, of course, if you're going to be doing home recording, you got to have a bass guitar of some sort. So a couple friends of mine that have been friends really for all of my life, both of them have played bass at one point or another, but for my birthday one year, they gave me a gift card for Guitar Center. So I went down there, checked out their used guitar areas, and I was looking for a bass guitar, and I got this for a really amazing deal. So it is the bass that I use on everything that I record at home. And again, it works, it does the job. So that is that must have. All right, this is the most unusual story. This Gretsch Streamliner used to be a Jackson King V, made in the USA. So how did that happen? Well, basically, very close relative of mine passed away and left me one of his musical instruments, an actual keyboard, like an organ, a piano. I don't actually play that instrument, but I wanted to commemorate him, and so we agreed that we sold that instrument, and with the proceeds, I bought myself one of the guitars I'd always wanted, which was a Jackson King V, you know, from the 80s. It was a great guitar. I ended up actually selling that guitar though, because we needed money for the band I was in at the time to buy a PA system. And then after that project was over, we sold the PA system and got another Jackson guitar, and it was okay, but I really do regret selling the King V. But at that point I decided, you know, that the other Jackson V just wasn't quite, just didn't have the magic to it for whatever reason. So I decided to swap it for something completely different, and thought, you know, I was kind of intrigued by the guitars that, of course, Dave Grohl was using and has always used, and also from Soundgarden, Chris Cornell. That's what the color is kind of about. So thought this might have some different kind of songs in it and give me some different inspiration. And it's a fun guitar to have in the collection. So that's the symbolism of this. And of course, this is a Gibson Flying V Corina, very rare guitar. I got it for Christmas in 1998 to put on the Christmas tree. So that's very symbolic for us. So one of my favorites, this is the ESP LTD EC1000. It's a, you know, obviously Les Paul style single cutaway guitar. These things are ubiquitous. Everybody's got one, some guitar like this. Anyhow, never had a Les Paul or Les Paul type guitar. I always find myself in my very first cover band that I've ever really been in my life. And we were starting to play around a lot and actually making some money at it. And I realized playing on those tiny stages in these little bars and stuff, having these V guitars or these guitars with these big wings and stuff just really wasn't very practical. I was constantly stabbing someone or knocking into my amplifiers and all of this. I realized that these either Strat style or Les Paul style guitars, a lot more compact, easier to control on stage, just a better fit and easier to pop up on a stand and not get in people's way. And it sounds great. It looks great on stage. The inlays kind of sparkle. I don't know if it's actually mother of pearl, but you know, it's got that kind of effect, and it sounds great. So that's the symbolism behind this, to commemorate that first cover band period in my life, and I've used it in everything since. Okay, now we cannot forget the acoustic guitars. Can't do it. So this is a Ovation 12 string. This originally belonged to my father. He had this in his house. He played it quite a lot. I don't, sort of in tune. I don't really play it a whole lot. I keep it in the case. So this is kind of like a family heirloom in a way. It's got, of course, the Ovation rounded back, which sometimes is cool, sometimes is not. But anyway, it's nice to have a 12 string around, especially for recordings and things. It might be useful to get those additional voicings in there, but it's a pain to tune it in, especially change all the strings. But anyhow, it's a cool looking guitar, and it definitely has a lot of meaning for me, and so that's why it's here. This is a Dean acoustic guitar. It's not super high end or anything, but it looks pretty interesting, and it sounds good. It works. Wow, it's even in tune. I haven't picked it up in a while. Anyway, the symbolism for me on this guitar, you know, on my lunch hours, I discovered this cool little music store called Go DPS Music in Thousand Oaks, and just kind of tucked away, kind of little hidden gem, and I would just go over there and hang out and check out what they had. And they did have a lot of interesting acoustic guitars, among other things. So I decided to buy something from Go DPS to support them, and so this was what I got. So this is actually my only 6-string acoustic. I used to have an Ovation many years ago that I sold. Don't remember why, but I wasn't using it much, so I kind of was missing that. So that's why we got this guy. The Mexican Fender Stratocaster. What's the symbolism of this? Well, there was a time when I was actually, my main music gig was playing in a church worship band, and obviously we had to do a lot more clean stuff in there. Even though it was contemporary kind of rock music, there was still a lot more clean stuff needed, and I really felt like a Fender Strat might really give me more of that shiny kind of sparkle. And so I found this guy like on eBay or something like that, and got it really for like half off or something, because it had a couple tiny little chips in the back that no one's ever going to see. But the color scheme really pops with this sort of gold satin finish in the black. It's not the highest end Fender, of course, you can get, but it sounds good and sounds like a Fender should. And I use it on all my sort of surf rock, Echo Shores kind of stuff. And so that's the symbolism behind this. It represents that time in my life when I was doing something different with music. Now we're at the Schecter C1 Platinum. What's the deal with this? Well, I had been in a guitar store looking for something different and happened to pick up one of these and just played with it for a while, and it felt really natural, sounded great, and I thought, wow, these things are actually affordable and, you know, fairly nice. So it was kind of in the back of my mind. And then I found myself at a job, and after, you know, a couple of years of struggle, finally got a major promotion there. And so with that pay raise, I decided I needed to commemorate that, of course. So I happened to see one of these, and you know, it's got the neck through and all of that, and you know, the kind of satin silver finish. And I thought, well, you know what, maybe it's time for me to try out the Schecter. So I got this. The only thing I've really modified on this, it came with the James Hetfield active pickups, which were okay, but not really my style. So I did spend quite a bit of money to convert all the pots and everything and get a new set of pickups. These are the Duncan Black Winter pickups from, of course, Seymour Duncan, and they sound absolutely fantastic, especially for when you need that very articulate, you know, metal crunch kind of tone. So I use this in a lot of my recordings for the Soul Proof Door project and other things. So this has been a great piece of the arsenal, and it definitely has a certain memory of a certain time in my life where I was working hard and was able to reap the dividends. All right, this little guy is a cigar box guitar. It's made by a guy named Snowden, Mike Snowden. He's in Georgia, and he makes these really cool cigar box guitars. This is one of the early generation ones. He's making some really high-end ones now. You should go check out his website. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. This one's just 3 strings, and it's tuned, you know, I guess sort of the DAD or something, so you can play chords with just, you know, 1 bar like that. This actually, the purpose of this guitar, the meaning behind it, I actually purchased this for my dad many years ago, maybe, I don't know, maybe almost 20 years ago, for his birthday. So it was a gift for him because he is a guitar player, or he was a guitar player. When he passed away a few years ago, this kind of made its way back to me. So this has multiple meanings for me, of course, and it's a very cool little thing to have around the house. It even has a 1/4-inch jack and a little tiny pickup in there, so you can run it to an amp. So if you've seen anything on my channel, I'm sure you have seen this guy. This is an ESP made in Japan. They call it the E2. And it's got the locking tuners. Obviously, it's a reverse headstock. It has a really amazing green sort of emerald finish, but it fades to black at the edges. Sometimes the camera doesn't pick it up so well, depending on the lighting. But I was intrigued by this one in particular because it has bare knuckle pickups. These are the Tiger Aftermath pickups They're really bright and really articulate. I dig them. It's a little bit different tone than some of the other guitars I have with Seymour Duncans or whatever, but that's nice because it gives you some different kinds of color palettes when you're recording. And so the idea behind this, though, this is the most expensive guitar in my collection so far. And the whole rationale for spending that money was this was when I finally turned 50. So that was part of it. And at the same time, we were in the middle of COVID, and I survived the work environment and everything else in life at the time. And so this was kind of a little carrot to keep me going, and I got a major promotion at the same time. So with that came quite a big pay boost. So I thought, you know what? This is my reward for getting through all of that muck from those times, which we all had to pull through. So that's the ESP. And this has been a lot of fun. And yeah, go get one. This is an ESP LTD. That is actually one of the main reasons I picked up this guitar. It had been a while since I had a guitar with an actual Floyd Rose that was in working order. I actually got a new type of promotion at my job over to a new department, and it was a little bit stressful, but we decided with that little pay bump, I was going to get something I could use in my current project, the band that I'm in right now, where, like I said, I was really missing having a tremolo, but I really needed the guitar to still maintain tuning stability, and I lucked out. Ordered this online, sight unseen, had not played it at all. It stays in tune better than any guitar in my collection, even the hardtails. It's just amazing. I've tuned it maybe 4 times in the last 8 months. Yeah, so it's got an amazing sort of fade here, aqua fade or whatever you want to call that.